I invest and build companies, next generation companies, participating in the smartphone revolution. Here we saw a company that had a tremendous brand heritage, and an iconic name around Blackberry, and it got thrown off the smartphone wave. And we thought it was an intriguing opportunity. Last summer, the stock was at around $7 or $8, and we thought that there was a lot of value that could be created if it could be reimagined and rebuilt. So formed a special team and approached the board about it.
And how did the board respond?
Well, the CEO was there for only about 6 months, so they wanted to give it more time. So, you know, it was looked upon as a different approach, but they wanted to see how the current management was going to run it.
Now, let's talk about the approach, because it is sort of interesting. In your scenario, your dream scenario, BlackBerry would spin off its hardware division and move over to Android, which is interesting given that some people think that its hardware is its best assets.
Well, it wasn't a complete abandonment of hardware. It was considering a focused approach around enterprise mobility with an end-to-end solution around MDM, which is mobile device management, also having proprietary hardware solutions that was optimized and modernized. We would fork Android. We would focus on Android because of the complexity around corporations having employees bring new devices into the ecosystem. There was a tremendous opportunity to create leadership there, and it was a larger opportunity to focus around the duopoly around iOS and Android than it was to go after a war against these two companies. And we thought it was insane. It was like a David and Goliath story, but instead you were talking about David fighting against two Goliaths, and they had Uzis, and you had a slingshot. We thought it was an insane strategy, and alternatively, they could have focused on a massive opportunity around enterprise and essentially compete against very small startups that had less resources than they had.
Given the trend that you mentioned, people bringing their own devices to work, where is there room for BlackBerry in this market?
I think there is still a tremendous opportunity around enterprise mobility. BlackBerry is still very much has a tremendous amount of brand equity. It is a year later, so some momentum has been lost. But they do have a tremendous amount of proprietary assets that could be leveraged, and I'm sure any possible strategy would include some of these special cards that they have.
So this $1 billion that you achieved in commitments, where did this money come from? Who was backing you?
A lot of individual investors as well as institutionals.
And would you still be interested in buying BlackBerry today?
I think in the right scenarios, it still would make sense.
Why did you decide to go public with this? Why release your whole slide deck and reveal this secret plan, once secret plan?
I think the timing was when BlackBerry was open to strategic options, as they called it. I thought it was the right time to have a dialogue about this, because the direct approach that we tried with the board did not work.
Now, at the time, you said you came up with $1 billion. You were $5 billion short. You know, do you think you could make up for that shortfall today?
I think that's, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. I think that I'm sure the board and the management team will explore its options, and we should see, how this will all kind of shake out.
Now, I do want to ask you a quick question about your early investment in Xiaomi, which some people don't know about, but it's a Chinese device maker, an Android handset maker, and it's killing it in the Chinese market. It is sort of a study in contrast. Tell us more about Xiaomi and why is it doing so well in China?
Well, I can't say too much because they're a private company. I invested quite early in 2011 before they launched their first product, and now they have publicly announced that they are now outselling Apple and Samsung in China. It's a very special company. They have essentially 7 entrepreneurs that came together and built a super team, and with a special vision, with special skills around where smartphones were headed, particularly the tremendous amount of margin compression around consumer devices meant that you had to build services on top, and they built high-end devices that Chinese masses love, and they're doing great. And you're seeing a study in contrast with Blackberry, where you have a management team that is very different, that didn't see the wave coming, and I think that you're seeing the results.